Hey guys, Harv here, and welcome back to the Interplanetary Fleet. Did you really think I would just leave it here? Yes, the Interplanetary Fleet. For our 10,000 subscriber milestone gameplay video, we are taking the Interplanetary Fleet out to Duna, the destination that it never managed to get to. It kind of died off, the series did. It died off for a bit. For a short amount of time. But here it is. In all its glory, we are now going to see through to the end. See this entire project through to the end. So we've got our encounter with Duna. Very easy to set up a maneuver node and do that. Just predict that we're going to get there and then carry out the burn. So we increase our orbit, burning prograde or in the direction that we're supposed to. Our orbit gets past Moon's orbit and out past Minmus orbit and then goes into planetary. And as we zoom out, we see that it carries on increasing. This big fleet, fleet isn't really a good word for it, but this big vessel, despite having the pretty inefficient poodle engines, which is a mistake. I should have used some other form of propulsion, but despite that, it has got more than enough fuel to carry these guys out to Duna. And there we go, we get our encounter. So a bit of orbital ballet later, we've lowered our periapsis, we've adjusted our thing, and we get to Duna. Now, we've got a periapsis. We have an encounter with Ike, which is interesting, but we're going to lower our periapsis right through into the ground? We're lowering it into the ground? Why is this? Why are you doing, Harvey? You don't want to go into the ground, you want to aerobrake. Well, we're going to use some very crude form of asparagus staging. So we empty out all the fuel from that fuel tank there into the center, just finish off filling it up with the other one that was opposite to the one we just emptied, and now take the rest of that fuel and put it into the top one. And what are we going to do? Well, once we check they are both empty, we're going to undock them and crash them into Duna. So yeah, I didn't set it up to work like this. Obviously it's kind of hard to, seeing as we did dock these things on, they weren't built together. But we are separating, and now as we even up the fuel as best we can, and we deactivate the center engine, and we're going to carry on using just the two outside engines, we let those fuel tanks drain away, or float away, and they're going to go on their collision course into Duna. Hopefully they won't hit the Duna base we're establishing there. Hopefully. We already have two guys down on the surface as we turn around, go cinematic, time up a little, and burn away to increase our periapsis back away from collision. But yes, we already have two landers down there from the prototype of the Interplanetary Fleet. I hesitate to call this the Interplanetary Fleet's final version because, well, it's not perfect. Oh, hi, Ike. Hello. Goodbye. It's not perfect. Using the poodle engines and advanced SAS on the landers, the way it's done, it's not perfect. I would like to make it a bit more efficient if I do this again. And no doubt I will, for a more worthy cause, such as going to Lathe or something. But I wanted to take this to Duna to meet up with the other landers that we already have there. The Interplanetary Fleet itself, the prototype, has spontaneously disappeared. I don't remember where it's gone, but it's not here anymore. So, oh well. As we warp down, we've lowered our periapsis to around 13 kilometers. Yes, all the 26 people that were in there, yeah, they went to somewhere else. Let's just leave it at that. Yes, we've lowered this down. Now, this is a technique I'm using. It's a very good technique. And that is, this is good for aerobraking. Let me just say that first. You make a maneuver node, and you set it to what altitude you want to aerobrake to. And as you see, it measures what your change in velocity, no matter whether it's engine burning or whether it's the air resistance slowing you down, it measures your change in velocity. So I know how far away I am from my target altitude. and as it gets down to the bottom it stops and starts going back up, which means we've aerobraked a bit too deep into the atmosphere. So now it's going back up, it's further away from our target altitude. We start burning along the blue reticule to lower it down to get to our target trajectory, or along the blue reticule-ish. It would actually be better to burn prograde at this point, because I don't really care where the apoapsis is, as long as the apoapsis is constant. But nonetheless, we burn prograde, and we lower the meter, the delta V meter, back down to 0, or as close to 0 as possible. And there we go, there's the thumbnail of the video. I thought that was a great view. Really like that. I think it's very, very cool. But yes, it's a bit of a waste of fuel, but to be honest, the poodle engines are efficient enough that it doesn't really matter. And the atmospheric density isn't very high here, so that doesn't make them any less efficient. It does slightly, but not an awful lot. And there we go, sunset over Duna as we orbit around. Excuse me, I'm burping quite a lot. It's weird. For a commentator, I burp a weird amount. You probably hear me in all the videos, but anyway. Let's do some orbital ballet, get round to our apoapsis and burn prograde. So we've done some adjustments, it's now 100 kilometer apoapsis, and we burn to circularize it, and then later we warp round and burn to make it equatorial. Doing that by targeting Ike, which is in an equatorial orbit, and lowering our relative inclination to 0. And there we go, we have pretty much half fuel left in those outside tanks, full fuel left in the inside because we're not using it. And guess what? Now it is time to land on Duna. This is targeted landing, the hardest type of landing, because Duna's atmosphere is very thin, and it's something I forget to factor in if we swap to our landers and warp into its daytime so we can actually see what we're doing. We carry on warping around, gets closer, but yes, targeting, we have to land directly on top of our things, and surprisingly, the first time I do it the best, if memory serves, but we'll see. We'll undock our first one, swap to, undock, there we go, swap to it, and we are ready to burn retrograde and get ourselves onto a course for the landers. Bob Kerman and Bill Kerman leading the charge down to the surface of Duna. Let's turn this puppy towards 270 degrees, because we are in a 90-degree orbit. There we go. Activate the engine. And we just burn a little. Hang on. Burn, there we go. Burn a little. Hopefully we don't hit that fuel tank. Really, that would put an end to things. I am trying to not quick load whatsoever for this. I want it to be a bit more permadeathy, because I quite like that. Now, I vaguely remember in the prototype videos that if I aimed for the side of that crater, for the far right-hand side, if I aimed for that, then I would land pretty much bang on where the landers are. That isn't the case, but it's close. It's fairly close. So let's warp down onto the surface. As we encounter the atmosphere, there we go, you can see our periapsis has shifted a little. Now at this point I'm kind of thinking, ooh, that's shifted a bit too much, don't you think? And the reason it's shifted is because Duna itself is rotating. Now we are in the atmosphere, we have to counteract its rotation, and we have to counteract air resistance. So I increased that a little, thinking that, hey, air resistance and rotation, that'll slow us down enough, surely. No, you can see it actually hasn't moved whatsoever. I'm quite sure of the fact that if I hadn't done anything to change it, we would actually be perfectly on target, but oh well. I open up the drogue chute, and we're burning retrograde, trying to slow down desperately. We get down below 400 meters per second, below 300 meters per second, below 200 meters per second, and it opens. And it is perfectly fine, it opens. Now, we are 4.5 kilometers from where we need to be. So let's cut that drogue chute. The drogue chute, the difference between the drogue chute and the regular chute, the radial parachutes, the difference is that opens higher up and provides less drag. So it opens higher up in the atmosphere, which is good because it points you retrograde and it slows you down a little. What's bad is that at that point you haven't really slowed down much due to air resistance, so you do have to burn retrograde, otherwise bad things happen. Now we burn towards our target and those parachutes snap open, and we're pretty much directly on top of those landers. That was exactly how it should have gone for the remainders. Yes, you shall see. But yes, Bob Kerman, Bill Kerman coming down for their landing, fire up those retrograde thrusters, and we have touchdown on Duna. Bit of bobbing because those landing legs aren't perfectly 4x symmetry in order to allow the crew to actually get down onto the surface. Open up the ladder, open up that antenna we have there, and that is the first of 4 successfully down onto the surface. Now, Jennings Kerman and Lodmore Kerman. NB. 5,000 plus names in the random generator? Bull! I'm sure it's not, but you see repetition so much. The names get repeated really, really often. I've had Lodmore Kerman so many times. Never mind, little rant over. I didn't adjust this one, and I thought, yes, we'll get this right on, won't we? And in fact, yes, the trajectory has pretty much made it exactly where it needs to be. Pretty much. Let's open the parachute. Oh. That dragged away our advanced SAS unit, as well as the parachute. So now let's tumble down towards the ground. Burn! 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 Open the parachute! Open the parachute! Burn! Burn! I didn't slow down enough due to air resistance, and when I opened the parachute, it snapped off. I opened it too late, didn't slow down enough. So, we're on the surface. That's great. And we're kind of bouncing around. Jennings Kerman's pretty happy. Lodmore's got more of a grasp on the situation. In fact, our landing legs are a bit mismatched. Let's raise that. Now, maybe, just maybe, we can use our expert skills. If we tip over onto our side and open up the landing legs, we can, in fact, using standard shoot for the Moon Enterprise procedure, we can, in fact, open that up. Get it back on its feet. Good luck getting back over 1.5 kilometers, gentlemen, because you do not have an engine. That is screw up number 1. It's our off-base mining colony. Our off-base mining colony. It's fine. It's fine. Surely. Let's start the next one. Engine on, burning away. We are lowering our periapsis down towards just a bit to the right. No, not this one. We're lowering it down right on the edge, doing a bit of changing, a bit of burning. We are burning upwards just to try and A, slow down, and B, make sure our target is correct. Make sure we are pointing in the correct direction. So there we go, that's pretty much fine. Slowing down, 400 meters per second. There we go, and burn retrograde. Now we can deploy the chute, not yet. Down below 300, there we go. And we don't deploy the drogue chute until then, when we deploy them all. Yeah. Now, I got it right the first time. What you do is you open up the drogue chute and you slow down below 300 meters per second so that it opens, and if you're a bit off target, you cut it, fly back to where you need to be, and then you open the parachutes to slow down and land directly on top. To do that for this one, I open them all, and so that basically renders that method useless, because I can't go around cutting them all in mid-flight. There we go, we stopped that. The original intention, let's just land this here, we'll sort it out later. The original intention for this was that you see how I docked it to the Space Fleet. I put those 2 docking ports on the side for extra stability. They are perfect distance apart. All these landers are identical. So how about we stick them together using those docking ports, and we land 2 at a time? Much easier, surely. Didn't work. I've done this mission. This is the 3rd time I've tried this mission. I reloaded completely because I didn't want to quick load. Didn't work because parachutes open depending what altitude they are deployed. And if you've got 2 separate vessels and they are tilted, pointing retrograde, then one will open before the other and things go terribly wrong. Now, I've got the drogue chute open. I've done one thing right. It's open, but I'm not slowing down enough. I probably should slow down a bit more. No, too late. That flies off. Brilliant. Now I get the gist and I start slowing down a bit more. And from here it goes pretty much okay, minus the fact we have no advanced SAS. But never mind, we slow down completely, using up our fuel, but that doesn't matter because hey, who cares about fuel? And then we start burning back over in the correct direction, turn off that engine. We're bit south, we just need to burn a bit more north, or south, okay, but south. There we go, and now we can open those parachutes, and open, there we go, and yeah, a bit of a jolt, nothing that Tom Frid and John Frid Kerman, who I've had millions of times, nothing they can really have cause to complain about. Open up the antenna, extend those ladders, and we have a base, minus the off-base mining colony and the random vessel that's just over here. Let's sort this out. How are we going to do this? Well, my first idea was that I just EVA on the side, repack all those parachutes, because hey, that makes sense. Don't bother doing the Trogue one, because it's pointless. Yes, we've got all the parachutes ready to go again, so surely we can do what we've been doing for the previous missions, for the previous landers, and we can just burn over, and then once we're pretty much over it, we can open up those parachutes. Now, I read a comment on one of Scott Manley's videos that said he was having trouble opening the parachutes because his old craft is spinning and tumbling. If you pause the video, pause the game, there we go, then you can open the parachutes, Scott. No, you can't, it turns out. No, you in fact can't. So, opening parachutes, that's not going to happen. Let's do this manually. Come on, I've landed on the moon several times, it should be fine. As we tip over, and we go back in the air, no problem. Second time. Second try. The problem is, the landing legs aren't 4x symmetry. Why? Because my intention was to put two together whilst landing. To land them both at the same time, so I couldn't have them at proper 4x symmetry, because that would mean I'd basically be pushing a landing leg through the fuel tank of the lander adjacent to it. So I can't do that, I have to land manually. And we tip over. Third try, get it down on the floor, there we go. Neldin and Elney Kerman. Ah. Well, come on, that's close enough, really. I mean, you wouldn't want them all really compact. Kind of. Fade out, fade in. It is now just over a year later, and we have been on the moon, been on Duna, doing what Dunans do, doing what Kerbals do, which is precisely nothing because we haven't got resource gathering yet. Can't wait till we do. Point 19, it's coming. Resource gathering and rover parts and all that, it's coming. But yes, we are here, and it's been just over a year. Actually, no, it hasn't. Yes, it has. It's been over a Kerbin year, and we need to get back all these pilots. Even the ones in that hitchhiker storage container, which actually were supposed to be unloaded before the mission. Admittedly, on behalf of Shoot for the Moon Enterprises, I would like to state that was a slight oversight. Admittedly. We're sorry about that. We'd like to issue a formal apology to the families of those astronauts who told them they would be home for tea and were in fact sent on a 2-year mission to Duna. Which is not particularly good. But don't worry, they're going home now. We've set Kerbin as our target, we've done our manoeuvre node, everything is lined up perfectly, and we can just warp round, get about a minute and a half, just under a minute and a half actually, get around the planet under the sun, so that as we burn prograde we reduce our Kerbal velocity, our Kerbal orbital velocity, and yes, we're burning. Estimated burn 3 minutes or so, node in 40 seconds. I like to split the burn evenly along the manoeuvre node. So that was a bit late then, but no matter. We reduced the periapsis down and we get an encounter with Kerbin. Very easy to get an encounter because it's a fairly big planet, lots of gravity, so it's fairly easy. It's got a very large sphere of influence, and if we burn a bit more, we can in fact get a sooner encounter. Need to get all those pilots home. Those astronauts, who are probably just repair engineers, and yet they got sent on the mission. With, I may add, a lack of any actual dedicated oxygen supply. But, you know, they're Kerbals, they're fine. Let's warp back down to Kerbin, do some adjusting, turn that to RCS, okay, fine, leave it on, whatever. Do some adjusting, and we bring our periapsis down to crash. We're going to crash Oh my god, no, same thing. We're actually going to drain all the remaining fuel out of those tanks until we have a full tank in the middle. Separate those outside tanks, time warp away, and admittedly that tank a bit suspiciously went directly through its strut, but never mind, we can ignore that. Now, if we point 270 degrees, we in fact increase our periapsis again, because no, we don't want to crash, we want to aerobrake at this point. But we don't land, we want to aerobrake. Similar to the Duna situation, this is the Inter-Planetary vessel, this is the command module, not the landers. We're going to have to bring up something to actually get all these pilots and engineers who are surely wanting a bit of oxygen by now. We're going to have to do something to bring them all back home. Let's burn. And about 35 kilometers is good. No, hang on. We would be orbiting at 270 degrees if we went that direction. Let's burn directly through the planet. Excuse me, burping again. Oh, lots of burping. It must be a result of talking, I don't know why. Let's get a 35 kilometer periapsis. I think that's about right. Warp in, bam, and here's Kerbin. We are inside the atmosphere, back home, after a 2 Kerbin year kind of mission. And there's no real time to do flight planning, so let's just hope that it ends up being a suitable apoapsis. Certainly enough, we're not on a interplanetary trajectory anymore, and we are now going back up. There's the moon! We could burn for the moon! We could... hang on, we're not a lander. Let's not do that. There we go. Rising up, we're probably out of the atmosphere by now. And we set the moon as our target because, we need to do some orbital ballet, but we don't really care about that. What is this? Forging God's very flames, do my eyes tell me lies, a lander. A return vessel, in fact. It is here to pick up all the pilots. We have Filbury Kerman, Fredzy Kerman, and Lemdorf Kerman. Lemdorf, you are way too experienced to be doing this. I've flown you on many missions before. Well. Yes, let's get in close. What is this for? We have 2 hitchhiker storage containers and lots of landing legs. So we are going to be picking up the pilots of the Interplanetary Fleet and the 4 engineers, who are not very happy, I may add, at this point. There we go. We shall cancel out our relative velocity. There we go. And we just need to swap to the Interplanetary Fleet, pointed north, so we can actually have a hope of docking. There we go. And just put the advanced SAS... no, leave it off, because if it's on, things will shake around when we do docking and everything. Oh, we actually need to swap back and open up the docking shield, don't we? And there we go. Set that as target. We point ourselves south, so we're going to dock nose to nose with the Interplanetary Fleet. And let's spin around, point upwards, and burn upwards. Let's get this thing docked and let's get these people home. Just bringing ourselves in. 218 kilometers above the surface of Kerbin. It is very nearly the end of the video. How long do we have left of this? Oh, so many minutes. Let's bring it in, open up our own docking shield. There we go. And we shall bring it up. Just... oh, nudged it a bit too close. Back away and back forwards again. Just tip up. Magnetism comes online. And we shake around a little whilst the computer tries to figure out what we want. Yes, we want to dock. We want to join these 2 ships. Can you do that for us? No? Maybe there we go. No, that wasn't it. Come on, dock for us. There we go, finally. Right, I haven't mentioned this entire video. This entire video is sped up to 2 times speed. What footage you see is all 2 times speed, for the sake of having a bit more fluid gameplay. Now we shall move everyone across, starting with Jebediah Kerman, who is not happy at being called an engineer. He is in fact one of the best pilots in the entire academy, and yet he has not flown anything this entire mission. Oh well. It does Jeb some good to calm down a little, I think. So after getting everyone into the return vessel, we jettison, undock, close that shield, and it is time. It is time to decide, do we want to go to the moon or do we want to land? Seeing as the moon just did rise over the horizon. There we go, leaving behind the dead Interplanetary Fleet. Let's check those landing gear work. Yes, they work. Those landing gear work. Brilliant. Okay, let's burn retrograde. And luckily the home continent is pretty much there. So let's, again, it is targeted landing. Kerbin rotates faster, I think. Does it? Let's hope so. Kerbin rotates faster and the atmosphere is thicker. So we compensate for that by putting the trajectory a good deal in front of the continent. And still, it is pretty close. Now the air resistance slows us down quite a lot, and we don't quite land where we want to, but we're pretty close. We are certainly getting pretty far down into the atmosphere. See, 8 kilometers, we're under 300 meters per second. As I futilely attempt to burn back towards the Kerbal Space Center. Yeah, on Duna, 8 kilometers, you would be going at least 900 or something. But never mind, the fuel on this stage will run out after not helping us really all that much. There we go, jettison that, and we shall time accelerate, I guess. Or no, just go into cinematic view, and we can open up those parachutes. There we go, all 12 of them. There's 3 on the command module, 6 on the first container, and 3 on the bottom container. 12, enough to slow us down. There we go. We open, and the camera shifts upwards. Let's open the landing legs, because they work, right? Hang on, landing legs? Gears? No? Why are you not opening? What is this madness? I just pressed square bracket, which changes between nearby ships, and we changed between the nearby ship, which happens to be directly underneath us. Structural failure on linkage between Advanced SAS module, large thing and whatever. The command module and the Advanced SAS unit got separated. When we opened the parachutes, yeah, things broke. So we don't actually have control over the landing legs. But never mind. I'm sure we won't explode or anything. Oh, that was a crash and a half. I'm pretty sure Jebediah was in that bottom one. Yeah, they just impacted with some considerable speed. And there we go. The Interplanetary Fleet in all its glory has finished. We have finished it off. We have landed with all 10 of our budding pilots down here on the surface. That is 10 pilots. 10 for every 1,000. 1 for every 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much for watching the video, guys. And how about we aim for 20,000? Anybody? No? Come on. Let's aim for 20,000. Yes. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you all next time. Oh, and there's also these two. The off colony mining base thing. Yeah, they're there. Yeah.